Hello everybody, and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at the Economist 2022 models for both the Senate and the House elections and talking about why I don't like them, unfortunately. This is my third model review, or I think maybe fourth race to the White House, but that one's very outdated, and I'll do that again. And also because I think I was a little too unfair on the guys at race to the White House. And I've thought more about it, and I think that I think that I could give them a little more credit. So I'll definitely be doing that again, probably in October. But this is our third model review or forecast review. First we did 538, then we did Decision Desk HQ, and now we're gonna do the Economist. And so I've never really been a fan of the Economist models in general. G. Elliott Morris, who's the main guy behind it, I've never really been a huge fan of, really. And their 2020 model, I remember seeing it and being like, what? Because like they gave like their model changes a ton with the polls, even when like if the polls change but the country doesn't really change, the model will change, which is why I think it's a fundamentally flawed model. And they haven't fixed that from 2020, because in 2020 there were times they give like Biden like a 91% chance of winning the election. And I was like, no, it's probably close. Like I think the highest chance that my forecast ever gave Biden win the election was like a 68% chance, and that was in like July of 2020. On election day, it was I think in the high 50s. And so ultimately, um, I've never been a big fan of their models. This one's unfortunately no exception. But we're gonna go through it now. We're gonna talk about why I don't like it, why I think it's too inconsistent, just too inaccurate, and just a model you shouldn't really be trusting when you look at these November elections. So for starters, let's talk about their Senate forecast. So right here, as you can see right now, the Democrats have a 78% chance of winning the Senate, which is like really high in general. Like in general, that's really high. Okay, like a 78% chance at anything is really high. It's extremely high in a midterm where the Democrats were supposed to get blown out. And I know I haven't really been a big proponent of the red wave stuff. I haven't really been someone who's been super, you know, bullish on the Republicans in this year. But like 78 out of 100 seems like a lot to me. And I could easily, like, if you asked me to simulate the election 100 times, right, it'd probably, for me, I'd probably have the Democrats winning 60 or 65 out of the 100 times, not 78. So that's my first kind of qualm with the model. The second is that, like, the elections that are held here, we'll go through the competitive ones, wouldn't happen on the same election. And what that means is that the model doesn't fundamentally understand that election results are correlated. So, for example, it would be like, just think about this. It would be really weird to see Ohio blue but Michigan red on a map, right? Like, if I was predicting an election, in 2020, if there was ever a prediction that had Biden winning Ohio but losing a Michigan or Pennsylvania, that would be weird, right? Because it's like, okay, well, if Biden wins Ohio, he's definitely be winning Michigan, Pennsylvania by a lot, because Ohio is a lot more Republican than Michigan, Pennsylvania. So, like, if Ohio step 7, Michigan step 1, and Pennsylvania step 2, he's already, like, you have to get past steps 1 and 2 to get to get to step 7. And so I'm that forecast kind of ignores this, and it has some seats going blue that are much more Republican than some seats that they have that are much more Democrat, that are much more Republican than they have some seats that are going red. So that's why I'm not really a huge fan of this forecast, because I just think it's inconsistent all across the board. So let's start. I'll use Ohio as an example, right? Ohio, they gave JD Vance just a 64% chance of winning the Senate seat. I think it's 20 points higher. I think it's like 84% chance if I had to guess, right? And so that is, to me, that's way too high, or way too low. And if JD Vance has only like if Tim Ryan realistically actually has a 1 in 3 chance of winning, then Mandela Barnes is probably be favored in Wisconsin. But no, they have Wisconsin actually as more solidly Republican than Ohio. And I don't know how they got that, because Wisconsin is a state that Biden won by a point, while Ohio is a state that Donald Trump won by 8. So Wisconsin's 9% more Democratic than Ohio. And secondly, the polls in Wisconsin right now, there's no average yet, but the polls, I'll tell you right now, because I did the math earlier today, the polls, if you average them out and equalize them, which again, weighting is important. But if you do a rough average, Barnes would be up by just under 4%. And 538's average, Tim Ryan's up by like a point. So even if you only trust the polls, yeah, Ohio would be going blue, which again, I don't believe. But like, if you trust the polls, Ohio's going blue. Wisconsin would be 3 points more Democratic. So it's not partisanship. It's not polls. The trends in Wisconsin and in Ohio are both bad for Democrats. But at least Wisconsin moved to the left. Like, Ohio literally stayed exactly the same. Trump will say it both times. At least Wisconsin actually moved 2% towards the Democrats in 2020, right? Like, it trended right relative to the nation, but it shifted left because again, Biden won it by like 0.6, and it was a Trump plus one state, so it moved a point and a half to the left. Although again, when you compare it to the national trend of the 2.2% swing or 2.3% swing towards the Democrats, it was less. It swung less to the Democrats than the national average. But Wisconsin is just the, like the idea that Tim Ryan has like a better chance of winning than Mandela Barnes might have been like kind of reasonable 4 or 5 months ago. It's just completely unreasonable now. Mandela Barnes is someone who I think has a good chance of winning. Like I don't think he's favored as of right now, but I think he has a much better chance than Tim Ryan. So that's my first beef. My second beef is just only looking at the states of Arizona and Pennsylvania. Like, yes, I think Mark Kelly's going to win this Senate seat. However, him having an 88% chance of winning is like ludicrous to me. This is a state that Biden won by literally 10,000 votes, and you're saying this is basically safe Democratic. Literally, that makes no sense, especially in a state where the Democrats are supposedly losing the governorship. I think it's a really close race, but I think Kari Lake's narrowly favored as of right now, although I go back and forth every day. But Arizona's just like it is a state where I think the Democrats like are probably going to win the Senate race, and they have like a 50% chance of winning the governor's race. But to give them like an almost 9 in 10 chance of winning this Senate seat is just like it just doesn't make sense because this is a state that literally voted 4 points to the right of the country, and again they're projecting a D plus or an R plus 0.4 environment in their House forecast. So I don't know how they got that. Again, like if they're only using polling, then Wisconsin would be blue as well, but they don't have it because it's just not consistent, right? Like if the Democrats have a 90% chance of winning Arizona, then it's a blue wave. But if it was a blue wave Wisconsin, and Wisconsin would be going blue, right? See what I'm getting at here? Not consistent. Another one's Pennsylvania. Fetterman has an 89% chance of beating Dr. Oz, which I think is just like I think this is a toss up. I think Oz plays 40-45% chance of winning. And like I don't know where they're getting that from because it can't be the polls because again the polls don't make sense in Wisconsin. It can't be trends because Pennsylvania like didn't really trend that left in 2020. And also like if you're looking at only fundraising, sure, but in that case Tim Ryan would be winning Ohio, which would make the model even worse somehow. So Pennsylvania, Democrats having a 9 in 10 chance of winning Pennsylvania, which is always very close. Doesn't make any sense to me. And then it also makes even less sense when you consider that New Hampshire, which is a state that is 6% more Democratic than Pennsylvania, has a Democratic incumbent. The Republicans are going to be spending a lot more money and time in Pennsylvania than they will be in New Hampshire, and they give that literally a 2%. Like they think the Republicans have a better chance of winning New Hampshire than Pennsylvania or Arizona, which is just completely ridiculous to me. And then simultaneously, with the Democrats are getting these landslides in Arizona and Pennsylvania, they don't really have a chance of winning Sherry Beasley winning. And that makes even less sense because Sherry Beasley probably has like a 40% chance of winning at this point, maybe 35. Like giving her a 32% chance of winning isn't awful. Like I don't think it's horribly off, but it is horribly off if you think that Fetterman and Kelly are basically locks to win, and that freaking Tim Ryan has I shouldn't say freaking, but like if Tim Ryan has a 1 in 3 chance of winning, Sherry Beasley's probably in a toss-up race. Because again, North Carolina is 7% more Democratic than Ohio. That's not how that works. It's just not consistent. And lastly, if Kelly has an almost 90% chance of winning, Cortez Masto is probably in the 70s somewhere because I think she's at maybe like 55% chance of winning. I think Kelly's maybe at 65. I think she's only 10 points behind Kelly in terms of percentage, but no, that they don't want to do that either. And lastly, in Georgia, this on it, like giving Warnock a 60% chance of winning re-election on its own makes sense. Like that's like I agree with that, but when you compile it with all these other wacky convoluted predictions, it doesn't make any more sense. So Senate model, I literally it's almost like you took the competitive races and just randomized numbers for them, because yeah, I could see some of the percentages individually, but New Hampshire and Pennsylvania are not going to vote by the same, or are not going to have basically the same margin. Ohio is not going to be more Democratic than Wisconsin. And if the Democrats are somehow like super competitive in Ohio, you're probably going to be like in a toss-up race in North Carolina. So really don't like the Senate forecast. But don't worry, the House forecast is arguably even worse. So what I'll be doing here is I'll be reading some tweets from my good friend Evan Scrimshaw. Go follow him on Twitter, by the way. I think he just hit 8,000. Let's just keep the grind never stops for Evan. Got to get him to 10K. Got to get him to as many followers as we can before the midterms because he does some good stuff, and he does some very good stuff on Twitter. But anyway, so he says if your house model has Henry Cuellar with a 98% chance of winning and David Drone only has a 43% chance of winning, your house model has some calibration flaws, which is so true. And I should retweet that actually. Literally, it's actually so true because Cuellar is in a seat that is 3% more Democratic or is more Republican than Trone, and also Cuellar's seat is trending to the right, where Trone's is trending to the left, and Cuellar has like no cash on hand advantage. Trone has like $12 million in the bank, so literally no sense there. And like the fact that they have Trone losing but Cuellar winning on its own is pretty ridiculous. It gets even weirder when you look at like some of their results in Virginia 7, which is another classic suburban seat. They think Spanberger's going to win. They think Angie Craig's going to win. They think Kim Schreer's going to win. They think Oregon 5's going to win. As I say, Oregon 5, sorry, they think Gina McLeod Skinner's going to win. I don't know how you can come up with a map that has, okay, so in these Biden plus 7s and 8 seats, like Washington 8, Oregon 5, Virginia 7, Minnesota 2, the Democrats are going to win. But in a Biden plus 10 seat where they have like one of their biggest cash advantages of the cycle, they're going to lose. Like, what? I don't even know how they even did like, literally, I would have a harder time creating an equation to get to that than the Economist had creating this model. And it doesn't get better because from here you can see, like, let's go to the Midwest. Let's look at some of our working class seats. Wisconsin 3, which is a Trump plus 5 seat. They give Derek Van Orden, the Republican, 95% chance of winning. Okay, cool. Let's go to their other working class seats. Illinois 17, Esther Joy King, 55% chance of winning. Okay, maybe, I guess. Maybe a little low considering the fact that they think they have a 95% chance of winning this, but okay. Let's go to Ohio 9. Oh, this is a Trump plus 3 seat, which is like not too far off from this seat. Literally, like these seats are only 2% apart in partisanship, but they think Copter is going to win for the Democrats. Again, there are some differences. Copter's an incumbent. She has a lot of money on, a lot of cash on hand, and she's, better candidate than Brad Pfaff, who's a Democratic candidate in Wisconsin 3. But I don't think that if the Republicans only have a 47% chance of winning Ohio 9, that they're guaranteed to flip Wisconsin 3. These seats are probably going to vote like 5 to 7 points apart. Okay, that's not enough to have this massive gap there. Then additionally, while the Democrats are in this universe winning both Ohio 9 and Ohio 13, which are more working class right trending seats, they think they're going to get screwed in Michigan 10. Or yes, I think John James is probably going to win, but like, I don't even know how they came up with that. I legitimate, like, if this were a reaction video, I'd be like putting on a show and like putting my face in my hands and being like, oh my god, cringing at the model. But like, I don't know how they created like a forecast in which they think Marcy Copter's favored to win, but the Democrats have like no chance any of the other seats, unless they think that incumbency is worth like 8 points on its own, which maybe 20 years ago, but like, no, man. Legitimately, I don't know how they did this, and I really just, this model is just, it's just driving me crazy. And it like, okay, let's go to the Northeast. Okay, like, oh my god, go to Pennsylvania. Okay, they think Jim Bognett is going to beat Matt Cartwright, but they think Copter holds on, despite the fact that Cartwright is like probably a better incumbent and has a much worse opponent, and is in a that actually trended left between 2016 and 2020. Then simultaneously, they think that Susan Wild has a better chance of winning re-election than Matt Cartwright, when I think universally we all agree she doesn't. And lastly, go to Pennsylvania 17. While Cartwright's losing by, I only have 36% chance of winning, they have DeLujo with a 60% chance of winning. I think both DeLujo and Cartwright have similar chances of winning. DeLujo maybe 5-10% higher, but like, I think if Cartwright loses, so does DeLujo. Maybe if Cartwright loses by like half a point, I could see DeLujo squeaking it out. But like, they're not that different. Oh my god. It's just such a random model. Like, I don't know how they got. And then they think the Democrats are going to win New Mexico too, but like not be able to win some of these other seats. And literally, they have Nebraska too, which was a seat that was won by Don Bacon in 2020, got a point redder. And like, yes, I think it could be kind of competitive, but like, how do you have Nebraska 2 flipping to the Democrats, but like, oh, by the way, the Democrats aren't going to be winning? Like, oh my god, I legitimately, I don't know how. Like, I don't know. Like, I keep saying it, but like, I just don't know how they created a model where like the Democrats are somehow winning New Mexico too and Nebraska too, but are losing Cartwright's seat and are like losing David Trone's seat, which is literally Biden plus 10. It's just like, oh, and then they give Gould like a 10% chance of winning in a seat that he's like universally considered to be favored in. Like I just don't. Oh my god! And then they have pulled 12 out of 6. Like are they just memeing? Like are they trying to like oh my god, I don't know. Like and then they have Cuellar at a higher percent chance of winning than Gonzalez, despite the fact that they're both incumbents. Gonzalez has a larger cash advantage, and in addition to that, Gonzalez's seat is literally like 9 points bluer. Oh my god, I just like I don't mean like I don't try to be dramatic in these videos, but like legitimately, I strongly dislike this model. I'm not going to say hate because I don't like to use that word, and I don't like to say I hate things unless I actually do hate them. But like I don't understand how this model thinks that like, oh yeah, Democrats will be getting like wave type results in New Mexico too and winning Don Bacon's seat, but by the way, they're going to be losing in this Biden plus 10 district in Maryland where the Republicans probably don't even think they're going to win. Like it's just and also in Cartwright's seat and Mark Molinaro winning, like Mark Molinaro having an 83% chance of winning a seat that he like Mark Molinaro. I remember the special election from a few weeks ago. He lost to Pat Ryan in a Biden plus 1 seat where he outspent him 4-1. He's now in a Biden plus 5 seat where he's probably not gonna have as big of a cash advantage against Josh Riley, and they think he's like they'll be like, oh yeah, he's an 83% chance of winning. Like guys, what are you doing? Okay, I'm just done with this house model. Like, I tried to review it. I tried to look through it. I tried to give the best analysis I possibly could, but like, no, I'm just done. It just like physically, it hurts me to look at because of like how inconsistent, how little sense it makes. So yeah, like when I review the Senate model, you guys are probably like, okay, we can't get much worse. Probably the House model going to be a little better, but like, it's not, unfortunately. So, oh boy, that's gonna be fun. Oh, great! And I just noticed this. They have California 45, which is literally. Let me find it. California 40. Where's California 45? They have Michelle Steele losing, it, while David Trone is also like if California 45 is a toss up, but it's probably like likely Republican in all likelihood. Maryland 6 is safe Democratic. Okay, I'm just done. Like the long it's like one of those things that's like the more you look, the more messed up it is. But it's like I'll like hover around a state and I'll be like, wait, they have that too, and I can just like find more and more things to like just cringe at because of how weird and inconsistent this model is. So that's it. So what I'll do is I'll leave you off with a quote here from Evan Scrimshaw. He said, this is my house model over here. Obviously, I will I'll talk about it here. Again, this is my prediction. This is just a model I built that has the Democrats winning by like 1 seat. And Evan, it's a joke, obviously, because he's a G, was like, well, it's official. Brian has built a more intellectually coherent, less contradictory, and frankly just better model than either 538 or The Economist, which, like, oh my God, thanks, Evan, but, like, man, this is just embarrassing for 538 and The Economist and everything that they're doing here. So, oh, also, by the way, I do want to say Evan also has a better model than 538 and The Economist. So that's it for this video, guys. That was a 19-minute long video of me just talking about how much I hate this model. Again, hopefully you agree with me. If not, I mean, I guess you can comment why you think it's legit. But I'll be honest, I don't really see a ton of good arguments for this model because from what I've heard, everyone hates it too. So yeah, go click all the links in the description. You got my Twitter, my Instagram, my website, my I'm forgetting something else. Oh yeah, my podcast. So if you want to hear more rant videos, listen to my podcast. But yeah, thanks so much for listening to this video. Please like this video, share it with a friend, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.